As I've been traveling around this country as well as the continent, I'm appalled at how people just don't know about the African Union. So I've made it a mission to start every presentation by sharing with you the history of the African Union. The first ever known union of any African states was in 1958. This is soon after our colonial masters were giving up their colonies. France in particular gave its colonies two choices. You can be free with some attachments to France, or you can be free completely with no attachments to France at all. They did not fathom any African country that would want to be free with no attachments to France, but to their surprise, Guinea and Mali said, "No way, Jose, we want total liberation. Thank you, France. It's been wonderful, but go back home." Of course, the French, in their anger, they went in and took everything that they thought they had brought to Africa in those countries. They proceeded to pour concrete into the sewage pipes and completely devastated the two economies. The newly appointed president of Ghana, graduate of Lincoln University, thank you very much, in Pennsylvania. In his efforts to help these two economies, created the first ever known union of any African states, which was Ghana, Guinea, and Mali. A few years later, a few states met in Morocco, and a few more states met in Addis Ababa. By 1963, the Pan-African leaders of the time decided it was time that the Africans rebuilt and recreated that which was destroyed by our colonial masters, starting with the implementation of the rule of divide and conquer during the Berlin Conference of 1885. And this is when they sat down, pulled out the map of Africa, and mind you, that was after they had made a decision that the African kingdoms that they found in Africa were too powerful, too sophisticated, with educational systems and religious systems, that if those systems were maintained, the program of turning Africa into a truly dominated continent would not succeed. So then they started with their program to make sure that they are going to let the Africans believe that everything that is African is bad and inferior, and that everything that is Western is better and desirable. So by 1885, they were ready for implementation. And during the Berlin Conference of 1885, they would look at a humongous kingdom. The more powerful the kingdom was, the more countries that came out of it. The birth of small countries like Togo, Guinea, Mali was conceived. Let me take you back to a country like Burundi, a country like Rwanda during genocide. It's easy for us to be superficial and understand Africa from a superficial point of view. The issue of the Hutus and the Tutsis goes back to 1885, Berlin Conference. First, Rwanda was given to Germany. Then Germany turned around and gave it to Belgium. The Belgians came in and said, "Well, you Tutsis, your nasal bridges have a smaller angulation." They used rulers to measure their nasal bridges. The straighter your nasal bridge was, the more desirable you were. And so the divisions began. The Hutus were felt to be not as beautiful, and not well suited to serve the master, and the Tutsis were more desirable. Fast forward, the Catholic priests came in and said, well, you Hutus, do you not see what the Tutsis are doing to you? They're coming to get you because they think you are not as beautiful and as desirable as you should be. So it is that the divisions deepened. What we saw in 1994 was the tip of the iceberg. You often wonder who was funding all those machetes that were pumped into Rwanda during that 1 month. So it is. I could go on and on about some of the situations going on in Africa, but be it as it may, as I take on my challenge as the ambassador of the African Union, I can't help but find myself going back to the beginning. How did we, the Africans, get here?